Hello everyone, I'm Drunvalo Melchizedek, and today it's question and answers one more time. I just want to give you a little bit of an update on the studio that we're building. I'm very excited about this because we'll be able to offer you things that we can't do right now. And so I just wanted to let you know we're getting close, not far away at this point. So we're going to put the first person up on the screen. I think we have about 10 people or so today that sent in questions, and we're going to see what they have to say. So the first one.
Hi Drunvalo, my name is Michael. I'm from Poland. First of all, thank you for all your work. You're very inspiring and very helpful. So keep doing that. Now to the question. My question is about the plane of existence that appears to be the star. In her second book, author Barbara Ann Brennan, along with her non-physical spiritual guide, depict something that they call the core star. Whatever you know about this, whatever are your experiences, please share and give as much details as you can. Thank you very much. I hope you can answer this question. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, Michael, thank you. The idea of a central star that is connected to our essence is old, and there's many concepts and ideas around this. Many of them have what are called the central sun, which is where the entire universe is inside of a one single sun, and that is the same kind of thing that you're talking about here. But when you say it's within us, what I have found is that we have within us a space. It's located literally inside of our heart, and inside of that space and it's a toroidal field is what is actually generating this space, and inside of that space there is another space. It's in the ancient writings it's simply called the tiny space, and in that tiny space is a light that is directly connected to the creation process. From that place, we are able, as a human being, an ordinary human being that walks down the street and eats food, if we understand what that tiny space in the heart is and how it works, we are able to create anything at all, once we really know what it is. We are creators, that's what we are. There is also one in the universe itself, besides the central sun. The Mayans call the Hunab Ku, which is a central axis that the entire universe rotates around, and that it is a pattern, a form, and that form is the creation process itself. And we never believed them for a long time, because I mean they knew this for thousands and thousands of years, but we as science, the United States, recently, about 10 years ago, discovered that there is an axis running through everything, all of life, all stars, and it's running at a very specific angle to everything. It's interesting, when I looked at this, where it's going, it appears to be going nowhere and coming from nowhere. It's nothing special, but it is the center. The entire, everything that's created is rotating around this central axis, and so science have found that if you shoot light down that axis, or in that parallel axis to that axis of everything, light moves at a different speed. It's actually different. But the Mayans say that it is the pattern that axis is created from, that every single thing in existence reflects that pattern that's in the Hunab Ku. And so these are different words to talk about the same kind of thing. Yes, we are eternal. We are never going to die. We have always existed. We always will exist, and there will never be a time when we don't exist. And we're immortal already, whether we know it or not. And so that star is probably about the most I can say about that right now. However, I want to say, you said Barbara Ann Brennan, and it was probably either Barbara Brennan or Barbara Ann Clow, one of those two. I'm not sure which one you were talking about. Okay, thank you, Michael. Can we have the next question? See what that is.
Hello, Drunvalo. First, I'd like to say thank you so much for all the work you're doing. I'm a big fan, and what I like most, I think, is that you have this childlike enthusiasm that is refreshing to me that other teachers maybe do not have. So thank you for that. I have a few quick questions. One, maybe you could clarify. At one point you said that those who have not developed their Merkaba when the change happens will quickly be taught on the other side. And another time you said that they would go into an unconscious state for a while. Maybe you could give some clarification on that. Two, you mentioned that you've been on this planet twice. Maybe it would be helpful to us, if appropriate, if you could share why you came back. Was there lessons you did not learn that maybe we could learn from as well? Or did you just come back to help as you are doing so well? The third question I have is in some Virginia Essene material. She mentioned that in 1972 dark forces had reprogrammed our sun already, and light forces had to step in and create a hologram around the planet. Is there any truth to this? And does this mean, if it's true, does this mean that change has already taken place? We're just being shielded from it somehow until we're ready. Thank you very much for your answers. I appreciate all your work, and hope to see you soon sometime.
All right. All right. The first question you asked, which was about those people that had not developed their Merkaba, what happens to them when the ascension process begins. Life already knows that most people are not going to be able to make this. I'm not even trying to reach every person on the world. My instructions were only reach certain people in the world, because it's those people that will make it through and in a different way than everybody else, and that's an important thing to do. But most people are simply going to die. But usually what happens is when they die, they go to the fourth dimension, and then they have to recycle and come back here because they didn't leave with their Merkaba, and they didn't die consciously, and so they have to do it over again. They keep doing that until they get it right. And you get a different body each time you do this. But you were referring to what you said. Both things are correct. What happens is they're going to go over there, and they're going to go into the 10th overtone of the fourth dimension, and they're going to wait there for a while until everybody has been collected on the other side, and at which point then there will be people that will come in and teach them what they need to know, and we'll go on from there. I'll say it again, there's no one that's going to be hurt in this. You can't be. I mean, so there's really no reason for fear. You might get a little nervous or stuff like that, but it's okay. I mean, we're going to be fine through this. The next question was talking about me being here on this planet twice. I haven't talked about that too many times. Usually I only say I've been here once. The second time I came here, I arrived in 1840. I joined the human race in 1850. I was born into a body normally. Then I died from that in 1890. Then I came back in 1972 and walked into this body, and I've been in it ever since. But you're right. I guess I did talk about this to a few people long before 1840, going back into the 18th dynasty of Egypt. Thoth and his wife Shizat were having a problem. This is actually in the 17th dynasty, it's right before the 18th dynasty took place, and it was toward the end of the 17th dynasty. And Shizat knew that the way they were going, which was basically they had all these 42 gods, and they instead of there being one God, which is what the truth is, there's just one spirit that runs through everything, they had 42, and 42 plus 2, I believe. And they realized that if that continued out in the way that it was going, the world would never understand or know that there was only one God. And it's essential that you know that before you begin ascension, or you can't. You won't have the right concept that will fit the reality. And so they decided to call upon the Melchizedek consciousness. This is Alpha and Omega order in Melchizedek here on Earth. And that to see if there was an answer that they could have as to how to proceed in this. And so I came, not in physical form, but you might say from modern day terms, I was remote viewing, and I did it through Shizat's body. So I was looking through her eyes and seeing what she was seeing. And I stayed with her for, I don't remember, probably 2 or 3 years to look at the situation and see what it was, and then came back to her and gave recommendations that they do what they did, which they brought forth one of the 32 members of the Syrian family, which was Akhenaten, and for him to promote that there was only one God. It was a very simple way. He used the sun as the symbol of the unity of all life, and he tried his best to put that idea across to the world. It didn't take hold. He only lived for 17 and a half years, and everything was ripped down and torn, and they went back to the old way. And so we had a short window of time where we could alter things in such a way that now we wouldn't have quite as much complex problems that we have, but unfortunately we're going through all the complex problems. And so it's just life. We're going to be fine. So that's the story on that. Now, the third question. You asked about Virginia saying that there was that she said that there was the dark side had created a hologram around the planet. Well, Virginia evidently didn't really know all the truth. Yes, there was a hologram put around the earth, but it was not the dark side. It was our Father, literally, the male side of the human race that created us. And it was the Syrian race. And they came in here and they analyzed how to solve what the problem was, just so you know, is that our sun was moving at that moment from a hydrogen sun into a helium sun. It only happens once in the life of a sun. And so stars have different kinds of lives. They move from a hydrogen sun, which right now we're roughly 5 billion years old. And it's been hydrogen ever since then. That's 3 hydrogen atoms coming together and forming helium. That helium builds up. It finally gets to a place where the concentration is deep enough, and it ignites. And it ignited in 1972. Bell Labs were blown away by what they saw because they'd never seen anything like it before. And what happened was an expansion of the sun as that helium explosion took place, which is 2 hydrogen atoms come together and form helium. Then 3 helium atoms come together and form carbon. And it starts to become a carbon star. And we just happened to be alive when that took place. But the thing is that normally when a race is at that particular stage, they are prepared on levels that we are not prepared on now to be able to take care of themselves. Even though the sun actually expanded beyond the earth, we are inside of the sun right now. I know this is crazy sounding by any scientists out there that that's true, but the reason they don't know it is because of what the Syrians did. They created a hologram around the earth, a very specific one. We know exactly how they did it. It's a very complex system, but and it required an entire spaceship that was 50 miles long to do it. And it's still sitting out there, out beyond the moon. And so in order to get us to survive this, what they did is they created a hologram that was a very special nature. It was one that protected us from this intense heat and power that was coming around us. And at the same time, it was able to program the reality as though nothing took place. And it was beautiful what they did. And we're still under that. And though they are not controlling it anymore, they were controlling the events in our lives for a few years to get everything going, and then they released it. And we're now controlling our own lives again. But it worked. It actually did work. And we're about to realize that is about to be turned off pretty soon, of which we're going to be on our own. We will have to deal with this expanded sun. The American Indians knew this a long time ago, and they talked about this in their prophecies. But for them, when they're looking at it, they don't see that it ever happened. It did happen, but life, which is trying to protect us, made sure that we didn't get hurt. I don't know if there's anything more you need to know about that. There is much more, and I mean, you can go on probably for a couple of days on this, but it's just our father. Our mother was the Nephilim, and our father was the Syrians, and the Syrians were just doing everything they could to make sure that we didn't become extinct. We're doing everything we can to make sure we are going to be extinct. So I hope they win. Okay, so I hope that helps you, and we'll see what the next question is.
I'm Ricardo from Mexico, and my question is, because I was reading again the Flower of Life, the second book, and it says that most of human beings have not used their Merkaba for maybe thousands of years since the drop of consciousness. So my question is, what happened when you die? I thought that when you die you use your Merkaba to go to the fourth dimension, but since you said that it can be thousands of years without using it, so that means that you are not using your Merkaba to go to the fourth dimension when you die here on Earth. Thank you.
Part of the question is what I answered already, but to be very clear so he understands, for a long time after Atlantis, when we fell in consciousness, we didn't have access to our natural Merkaba. We were living without it. We still had the seed of it within every single person, and every single person still has that seed, but it has to be watered in a certain kind of way for it to become real. While they didn't have that Merkaba, it was very, very difficult for anybody to die consciously. And so everybody, almost everyone, was dying, and without it, going to the fourth dimension, to the 10th overtone, spending a little bit of time there, and then have it being forced to come back here and get another body and start over again, hoping that you would know how to die consciously, which requires a Merkaba and the understanding that you have to bring your body with you. And so he's right on both levels. We didn't do it for a long time, and now people are starting to do this. And so the ascension process is going a lot faster now. In the first 150,000 years or so, there was only about 8,000 people that were able to do this, actually get their Merkaba, go to the other side, become stable, and bring their body with them. But they were still locked to the earth because they're tied to our consciousness, and they can't just go on. They can't just take off and go to another level. They have to wait until all of us are on that place, and we will all move as one living thing. So that's the answer to that question. Let's see what the next one is.
Hey, Drunvalo, my name is Natalie from Los Angeles. I'd like to first of all thank you for all the work that you do. And I have a couple questions. One, I've taken the Flower of Life workshop, and I was really interested in, you mentioned that people will not be able to ascend, or they get stuck, or if they haven't done the illuminated heart, or basically, from the tiny space of the heart and connecting that with the brain and being able to do the Merkaba from there. I would say that is maybe like 99% of the world that's not conscious about that doesn't know that. So what's going to happen to pretty much the whole world? Do they just not ascend? What happens to them, and how can we help the remainder of the world that doesn't know about the Merkaba, that doesn't know how to ignite them? And secondly, how will people know? Will people automatically know? I know you mentioned in the audio that you have that people will automatically remember. Is this for everybody? Because if it's for everybody, then I would assume that if everybody is remembering, that they would remember that, hey, I have a Merkaba, and I need to ignite it right now so I can ascend. This is all so familiar to me. But it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that people need to take these workshops in order to, or know about resurrection or ascension to ascend. And so those are my two questions. I hope that you would be able to answer them. I think if anybody, you definitely will be. And thank you so much for your work again. Love and light.
Okay. Well, Natalie, I answered part of that already. But just to get a little bit more clarity on this, you said maybe they should take your workshops. They don't need to take my workshop. I don't want to put myself out of business, but they don't have to. You only need to take the workshop if you really feel you need to. If you're one of those people that are supposed to be involved in Ascension directly, then yes, I can help you. But if you're not, if it's like your parents and everything else that aren't interested, don't care, they're into other things, that's all right too. It's hard to understand, but life is perfect. There are no problems. There's no mistakes. Everything is just flawless. And so certain people are going to go through Ascension. Certain people are going to go through Resurrection, which will be mostly Christians probably. And certain people are just going to die. And it isn't any better which one you do. You have to understand the universe, what they're doing. The universe creates zillions of these universes. This is just one of untold numbers of them. And what they do is they create them in such a way so life can come in and experience it and what it's going to be like. And one of the things that they almost always do, maybe not always, but almost always, is they say, try all possibilities. They want to see what the potential is of that particular universe. And so of this one here, we now have 3 ways at this level of existence to be able to make a transition from here to the other place. All 3 ways are legitimate. All 3 ways will work. But we want to try them. We want to experience them and know what it is. And so that's why some people are going to do this and some aren't. Do not feel bad for anybody else that if they don't understand what you're doing or don't know what you're talking about, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You just follow your own heart and learn what you know you need to know and do what you have to do. And you don't have to worry about anybody else. Really, God is going to take care of everything. So I hope I answered your question, I think.
Hello, Drunvalo. My name is Rahasia, and my wife Dara and I, we publish a magazine here in Northern California. We would like to ask this question. One is, how for sure is this shift going to take place? In other words, is there some crazy person on the sidelines that could really interrupt this by some insane act? That's one question. The other question is simply this. You say that we're all going to make it, and when you say all, could you differentiate between the soul, which has been here many times, but it's the same, and the ego personality, which is what most people think they are, which changes each time? So when you say we're all going to make it, are you talking about the eternal soul, or are you talking about all of the different personalities that have been in play since the beginning of time? Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. All right, you asked first exactly how this transformation is going to take place. And then the second part of that question was, can somebody try to disrupt this and stop it? Oh yeah, they can try. Our government did try, by the way. In about 1996, when the secret government and many of the heads of the governments of the world understood that the world was going through a consciousness change and a transition. They do know that, by the way. It isn't that they don't. They do know it. They decided to try to break it apart because they realized that if that took place, governments and religions and secret governments would be worthless. And of course they didn't want to die, so they tried to stop it. And what they did through France, they had a plan, and they calculated the axis of the Christ consciousness grid, or the unity consciousness grid that's around the earth, which comes basically through Egypt out into Morea. But they made a slight mistake, and they didn't really understand it, and they calculated where it left Egypt, which was about 1.5 miles away from the actual pyramid, and they made a line straight through the earth to figure out where it would exit the earth on the other side. And in that spot, which is just ocean, because that's not where it comes out, thank God, what they were trying to do was to blow up atomic bombs inside the axis to see if they could destroy the grid. And they had 8 atomic bombs, I believe, if I remember right. This has been a while since I've thought about this. I think it was 8 atomic bombs were planned to go off, and then what they did is they took over the Great Pyramid in Egypt. They took over the whole thing, actually, and they put the United States military in there, and they put all kinds of instruments inside of the king's chamber. And they began to do experiments with these bombs. And they could blow up the bomb underneath, and they could feel it into Egypt, and they were exploring to see how they could do this. It was on, I believe, the 4th bomb, I think. It was a certain number in. It could have been 3rd, 4th, 5, but it was approximately like that. On one of those bombs going in there, when they blew it, right after they blew it up, a cube, a black cube, appeared out of nothing in the middle of the king's chamber. And this person was standing there with a long robe and long hair. And all he did was open up this ancient book and let them read it. He didn't say a word. They read this. Whatever it said, I don't know. But whatever it said, it scared the hell out of them, because they canceled the entire thing. They stopped it. Mother Earth, on the other side of the equation, realized what they were doing also, and realized her vulnerability to this, and changed the shape of the grid in a very interesting way, based on Buckminster Fuller's the buckyball, the pentagonal dodecahedron carbon molecule, and strengthened the field so strong that this kind of thing could never happen again. And so, yeah, it's the game of the polarity. You know, they're just the dark side is just as important as the light side. We are fulfilling our purpose through the dark and the light, and at any rate, it didn't work. And at this point, they've given up, and they're just going to allow this to happen. They're now just trying to prepare for the inevitable, and they don't really know how to prepare. It all has to do with your heart, and so if you don't have a heart, it's pretty hard to do it. So life will work with them. Life will find a way for them to get through all of this, but it's not our responsibility right now. Right now, we have to focus on ourselves and be able to make this transition. It's coming at us fast, and we really have to do this, and we will do this. You asked about the people, what happens to them in terms of when they left and resurrected. Was this their personality, ego part that is surviving on the other side, or is this their soul, their essence? First of all, people have different ideas about the word soul. The connotations for that are different all around the world. And so many people say spirit instead of soul, and they mean the same thing. And some people, when they say soul, they're really talking about the soul groups, which we travel in groups as we move around the universe, usually on an average of about 32 people. And we move around like little bubbles with all our people in it, and we go to a planet, and then we shuffle the deck up, and one becomes the mother and the father and the child, and then it gets moved around. We do this for experience. Well, the ego aspect is the soul's part. It's the soul's research in that world. They are researching different ways of being in that world. We actually have 8 ego personalities associated with every single person, though we don't know this, but we do. We have 4 males and 4 females. If you read the I Ching, you'll see it's made of the mother, father, 3 sons, and 3 daughters. They got it right. And so did the Egyptians when they talked about the same thing, there being 4 males and 4 females that are associated with our personality aspect. Our personality is definitely simply research. It does not survive except as memory. And as memory, we have total memory of those lives and what they were like, both as male and as female and as old males and young females, etc., in all the various ways. And we have that, and that memory comes with us, with the soul, as a memory bank. And but it isn't what survives. In what really survives is the soul itself, which is eternal, forever. Never, ever will it die, and it will keep going. And so, I hope that answered you. What makes it through an ascension this time is the soul, but the soul is going to take the body, and it will probably develop a new set of personalities on the 4th dimension. But even those personalities are going to be short-lived because we're going to be leaving there really quickly. Okay, next one.
Hello, Drunvalo. My name is Ara. I'm from Belarus. I have 2 questions. The first question is about, in one of your interviews you told the story of a man who was allowed to collect all the prophecies from indigenous people of America. And what he discovered was that they all tell a story of 3 waves of people leaving Earth prior to mass ascension. And there will be people who are not compatible with ascension. The first wave will be the biggest one. They will die from something natural, something very big, and something very rapid. The second one is smaller, but they will know that they need to leave. They will prepare for this, and they will know about it, and they will be okay. And the third one is the smallest. It will be about 1 million people, and according to the story, they will become one entity. They will somehow unite and become one, and the rest will ascend. What can you tell about this story now? Has something changed? And the second question is, you told that this universe was created by Metatron. He is the spirit who created this universe, and it is based on a principle of sphere. Can you tell about other universes? On what principles are they based? What is the connection between the universes? How much can we know about another universe? Can you tell more about it? Thank you.
Okay. The first question that you asked about is the Native American prophecies. There are 555 tribes in the United States, which is interesting because it's the number of unity consciousness in Christ. And the man's name was Harley Swift Deer. Harley Swift Deer was native, and he decided on his own to go around to, he didn't go around to every single one of these tribes, but he went around to a lot of them. And he also went around to the secret societies like the Black Widow Society and these kind of societies that are mostly with grandmother societies. And he went around and listened to their prophecies. And what he was doing was seeing what they had in common. They're not all exactly the same, but they're talking about the same thing. And so he was looking for those points that were throughout all the different levels of the American Indians, Native Americans. And what he found was the story that you told, I guess, has been told so many times it's not exactly right. I'm now going to tell the way it originally was told. What the Native Americans believe is that when we get to this time exactly where we are right now, that there will be 3 waves of people that will leave the earth before the actual ascension begins. They will die. And so they're not going through the ascension process, they're going through the death process. But these are people, according to them, that came from space. We all came from space, but the first group is a very large group, and they came from a very specific region of space, time, and dimension, and they came here. And they all know it. And they decided that when it comes time to the actual time of the larger aspect of the ascension, which I haven't really talked about too much. That's when the whole universe goes through this ascension process. What it is they've decided that they want to be back where they came from when the real thing begins. They don't want to be here on Earth. They're not in tune with the Earth very well. It's difficult for them to be here. And so they've all, in their hearts, come together secretly and have decided that they're going to leave all at once. Externally on the world, according to the... Now this is not me saying this is Native Americans saying this. They say externally in the world, an event happens globally. I don't know what it is. They never describe the event, but it could be something that kills billions of people all at once, all in about 10 days. So it could be a virus, it could be something, I don't know what it is, maybe it's the H5 virus comes out, but lots of people die, billions. And they all come together, according to the Native Americans, external to the Earth and into the fourth dimension, and they come together and they leave. And they go into the stars and go back to the place where they were originally came from. Then shortly after that, I don't know how much time is between this, a second wave of people that are coming from a different region in time and space and dimension, and the same thing happens. Another external event takes place, lots of people die, I don't know how many, and they all leave the Earth, they meet and they go as a single unit back to where they came from. Then they say there's a third wave, and this third wave are, they don't know where they came from. They just know they're not supposed to be here. And so another event happens, a whole lot of people die. He said 1 million, but it's way more than that. And those people, the Native Americans call them hitchhikers. They all start going through the cosmos, but they don't know where they're going. They're searching for their home, and they leave. And what's left, and this is where he probably came up with that 1 million people, there's a small number of people that's left on Earth. I don't know what that number is, but I think it's more than 1 million. I think it's more like 100 million. But I don't know. And that small number of people, and this is still part of the prophecy, the people that are left over after all these 3 huge catastrophes takes place, they are the ones that are in their hearts. And the Native Americans say that they don't have a forked tongue. They have a single tongue, and they are a one-heart person. And they all come together in their hearts as one living being. And we no longer have an ego in the sense that we do now, but we become like cells in our body. We're all linked. Even though we're all over the Earth, we're all different colors and religions and everything else, we become one living being, and we start breathing together and thinking together, and that we turn the Earth into a spaceship. These are their words. They said this. They called the Earth, they said, we turned it into a spaceship, and we fly the Earth into a new way of being. That's the prophecy. Whether it happens, I don't know, but that is the thread that runs through the Native American prophecies throughout the United States. And so we'll just have to see what happens. But that's the story that has been told to me about Harley Swift Deers and his work. The next part of your prophecy was about Metatron creating this universe that we're in, which is based on a sphere. And that's true. He was the creator of this universe. And he's an interesting guy. He's 55 feet high, and he's got blue skin. and so he's an amazing person. I truly love this person. But he was the inventor of this particular one that we're in. There are so many universes that you could never count them ever. It's approaching, it's near infinity. You can't actually reach infinity when you're building things, but there's a lot of these universes, and they're not connected together in any way at all externally. So there is nothing in this universe. There's no wormhole or a little portal you can go through or something else like that to get to another dimension or a parallel world or something like that. Just forget that stuff. These universes are completely and utterly separate from each other, and there's an untold number of them. There's zillions of them. And they're all based on different principles. And so we can't, there's really no sense in trying to discuss or even think about these other universes. They're beyond our capability of even imagining them. All you can do is know that they exist. The only place that they are connected together, the place where they touch, is if there was a toroidal field like this moving around, it's in the exact center, which is what the Hunakub is. In the middle of the universe, it is a huge toroidal field, and the center of that is the Hunakub. It is the pattern that the universe was created through, and that's the. It's only when you are in the center of that, which you can find in your heart, that you could switch from this universe to one of these other ones. But you better be ready, because you have to know what you're doing, and you can't make that move without having gone around this entire universe at least one time, where you have been through all 144 dimensional worlds and can stay stable inside of them before you could even attempt to do something like that. So it's really not worth it to go into that subject too deeply, because it's useless information for us at this point. Anyway, I hope this helps you. Okay, what's the next one?
Hi, Drunvalo. My name is Daniel Bollinger, and my question is about crystals. More specifically, which kinds of crystals would be most helpful in the ascension process? I'd also like to ask about crystal grids and arranging them in geometric patterns. Which ones would be most powerful, and would typically you see two-dimensional grids out there? What about a three-dimensional grid, like a 3D model with a crystal joined to each point? Would that be even more powerful? And my final question has to deal with the fact that everything in this universe has a Merkaba. So the Merkabas of crystals, how can we use our own Merkabas in tandem with them in order to possibly increase their effects? Thank you very much for answering this question and all the others.
Okay. I love the subject of crystals. They were some of my greatest teachers in my life. Crystals are living beings. They are alive and they're fully conscious. And you say, which is the best one for ascension? Well, you were holding a selenite crystal there. That egg that you were holding was selenite. And selenite is a really good crystal for ascension, because it is a crystal that connects you between dimensional levels, so like between the third and the fourth dimension, which is our particular case. Selenite is excellent for that. And but the way it works is not exactly which crystal, but which crystal for you, because crystals as living beings will connect with you depending on what it is that you need. And so you can't say for sure, well, this crystal is what's going to help. It might help you, but you can't give it to somebody else and say, this is going to help you because it helps me. That's not how it works. The crystal will come to you depending on what it is and what you need, and you just have to, when you realize they're alive, and if you start communicating with them and understanding what they have to give to you, the crystals will come to you. They'll just come to you. I've had crystals just appear to me out of thin air, and so they can do whatever they want. And but as terms of which one is best, I don't know. The most prevalent one on Earth is quartz crystal. It's 80% of the crust. We're living on a crystal ball. We're floating through space at 17 miles a second on a crystal ball, which is kind of an interesting concept, but we are. Okay, and the other part of your question was about Merkabas and how everything has a Merkaba around it, and that's true, absolutely everything. It doesn't matter what it is. Even a beer can has a Merkaba around it. It's a natural thing. Things can't exist as individual things without one. They can exist as a seed, though, and that's still a Merkaba, whether it's functioning or not on those levels. But you can use your Merkaba to connect to a crystal and to connect to that crystal's Merkaba and use it to communicate through. And your communication can get extremely good doing that procedure. There are other ways of doing it, but that's a real good one. And so I suggest you try it and see what it's like. Crystals are excellent teachers, like I said. If you want to learn things, you can learn more from crystals than you can from human beings. Crystals and dolphins, really. Those two things are excellent teachers. Okay, next question.
Hi, Drunvalo. My name's Kirsty. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I just wanted to ask you if you knew anything about a blue light. I've heard you speak about it before. Blue School of Remembering, the Blue Star Cochina, lots of other blue ray, blue light stuff. When I was 16 years old, I was out of the blue, I was hit by a very strong beam of energy. And it was so strong, I thought that I could die. It was really intense. And when I came to, a person next to me said that they had seen a blue light come out of the sky and hit me on the head, which was very interesting. It was exciting, but I didn't know what it was. And then years later, right now, I'm studying past life regression and trying to awaken a lot of my past life memories. And one of my memories is from a life that was particularly painful. It was probably one of the most traumatic past lives that I've had. And when I died and crossed over, I didn't want to come back. There was no way I was going back to this planet. It was too painful, too scary, too confusing. And it was clear that I wasn't going to get the healing that I needed in the place that I was at. So they, whoever they are, decided it was time to send me home to get healing. And wherever this was, I don't think it was Earth. All I remember about this place was that it was made of love. Everything there was loving. It was where my family was. Everything made sense there. I knew who I was. I knew why I came to Earth. And I also remember the color blue. That stands out really strongly to me, is the color blue. And of course, when I eventually did come back and reincarnated, I didn't remember, who I was, except for a knowing deep inside, of that I'm here for a purpose, and that it's good and that it's positive. But details kind of elude me on this particular one. And I've heard you speak about the blue light before, and I was wondering if you could elaborate. Thank you. And thank you again for doing these videos. I love them. I watch them all, and I can't wait to your next one. Thank you.
Okay. The blue light. Well, everything you described indicates to me that you are an indigo kid. And almost all the children that have arrived here on Earth since 1972, especially since about 1985, which is at that point was about 85 or 90% or something of all the kids coming in. It kept growing, but almost all the children now, for sure, are coming from a very specific area of time and space and dimension. It's not something we can see too well because it's too hidden by the dimensional levels of what is between us and them. But you guys responded to the call of the dolphins and the whales, which came in. The dolphins and the whales went to the central core of the galaxy and asked permission in our behalf for people to come here and to help us, because we were going to die. Earth was not going to make it, and really there was no hope. And so the dolphins and the whales, which are connected to us in ways that we don't really understand, they went on our behalf and got permission from the galaxy to allow certain people to come here. And it was from what is considered the indigo ray, the blue ray, where all these people came. Now, they're children here, but on that level, they were incredibly advanced people. They were pure light. They were very, very advanced, and they realized that we needed help. What you were to do was, just by your very spirit, by your just very essence of coming here to Earth, you were bringing in higher consciousness just by who you are. And that would raise the whole level of Earth. But we would need a lot of you to do that. And a lot of you responded. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and at this point, billions of people on Earth came from that area. But they were, and when they came here, it was, I believe it was Cryon. Wasn't it Cryon? Cryon, I think, was the one who first talked about the Indigo Kids. And what you were just talking about, I'm going to relay this kind of information because it's really very interesting. When Cryon was realizing that all these children were coming from the Indigo worlds, he had a website up, and he had a lot of people on this website, and he put up a question to the families, the people that had children, and he said to them, did your children ever say anything about coming from space or anything like that? That's all he said. He didn't say anything else. He got over 100,000 responses from parents that told an almost identical, almost exactly the same story. That the parents were saying that when the kids were about 4 or 5 years old, I think that was, I might be wrong in these ages, but I think that was about what it was. About 4 or 5 years old. They turned to their mom and dad and said, over and over and over, the same thing. You are not my parents. My real parents live on this star called whatever it was, and my mother and father's names, and they would remember the names, and I have brothers and sisters, and they would remember the brothers and sisters' names. And they said, that's my real parents, but I came down here to help. And of course, when a parent thinks that, they just think they're making it up. And everybody, of course, probably thinks they're making it up. Except when you get 100,000 people saying exactly the same thing, that's no longer possible. That's statistically impossible. And so that was the first real proof that something was occurring on another level. And so this color blue, whatever it is about this color blue for the Indigo Kids is important. It's a frequency. And it's obviously important to you too. And again, remember, the very person who created this universe was Metatron, who was also blue. So even coming before the creation was the skin color of blue, which was connected to this level of existence. Okay, I hope that helps. I don't know. You know, before we go to the next person, Christy, I want to say one more thing to you, and this may help other people. You have this memory of being in another world, and you know that you came here for a reason and a purpose. The remembering of this reason and purpose for you coming here is really important to you as an individual. Once you remember exactly why you're here, in other words, you got a mission, really. And once you remember exactly what that mission is and why you're here, your whole life focuses and takes a direction. And so it's a good thing to remember how. Let me tell you where it's located in your body. Before you came here, so you knew that you would probably forget. We always do. And so what we do is we write it down. We record it. We record why we came here, where we came from, what for, why, what we're doing here, and everything else, so we don't forget. And it's recorded in the outer, in your heart space. There's 2 toroidal fields, one inside the other. The outer one is the first one you come into. It's called the sacred space of the heart. Learn how to get into there, and inside of there you will find that you have recorded everything you need to know right now. You don't need perfectly exactly what you need to know. It's recorded there. It may be written on a wall in a language you don't understand, and it's like a time lock. You will go up to that wall maybe 30 times, and it won't mean anything, and suddenly you'll walk up in one day and you can read it perfectly. You remember, and you'll know. Or it might be on a crystal. A lot of us still use crystals, even always, to record information in. And it might be a crystal sitting there on a table or on the ground somewhere. You pick it up, you touch it, you hold it, you connect with it, and all of a sudden you remember why you came here and what for. There's lots of ways that people record things. However you did it, when the time is right, you've already planned that. You plan not only writing it down, but you plan the moment that you remember. And so the time will come when you will find your way into the sacred space of your heart, and you'll remember exactly what it is, why you're here, and what this whole thing is about. And so just to save you time, go there. Go to your sacred space of your heart. It'll save you a lot of time looking in book. It's not going to be in a book. It's not going to be in some cave somewhere. It's within you. That's where it is. And it's all there. And when you find it, and you read it, and you know it, trust it, believe it, go for it. Your life will become powerful. Very, very powerful. And Mother Earth and Father Son want you to know. Because every time somebody remembers who they are and why they're here, the whole world becomes a little more focused and ready for ascension. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Hello, Drunvalo. My name is Larissa, and I'm from Southern California. I have a question for you today. I recently went to the Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop, and I wanted to just tell you that it's the most beautiful thing that I've ever experienced. Thank you so much for that, putting that information out there for us to have. It's just, words cannot express how much I enjoyed going to that workshop. And I strongly recommend that everyone watching this video goes and checks out the workshop. You should go if you can. It's so beautiful. And okay, let me just get on to my question. My question is, what does it take for the reality in the tiny space and that sacred space of the heart to become as realistic as the 3D reality around us? Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's a very subtle question. That's one that people all over the world are trying to understand. Once you know the sacred space of the heart and the tiny space of the heart, you are at the core of creation. Absolutely everything is there. The Akashic record is held within the sacred space, the outer one. Every single thing that's ever been said, or ever thought, or ever any action everything that's ever occurred is written down in there for the past, the present, and even the future. It's all there. So, I mean, you really have something amazing within you. Inside of that is another toroidal field, which is the creation pattern. It's where everything that came into existence came into existence. And so she's asking, how can I make that space as real as this space? And that is the key of learning how to create. It takes time. For most people, it's like baby steps. You make something small. You create something small from within that space. And you see that you can do it. And when you do, it gives you confidence. And then you make something a little bigger, a little stronger. And you get stronger with your confidence. And you keep going, and you keep going. Eventually down that road, as you are practicing, as you are actually doing the work, you eventually come to this place where you realize the truth of it. And in that realization, there then becomes no difference between the inner tiny space of your heart and the external world. Everything in the external world came out of the tiny space of your heart. The tiny space of your heart is the same in every living thing in existence. It's the same space. And so all hearts in existence are connected together in that space. And so it just takes time. You have to keep going and keep going. And eventually you come to this place where you remember, and you remember your ancient memories start flowing in, and all that stuff starts happening, and then it's no longer even a question, is this real or not real? You know it is, and you know it's the key and the core to the entire universe. And it's within you, within inside of every single person. So you just have to keep going. You have to keep practicing. It's like a guitar or anything else. It just takes time until you really understand it and know it. Okay. I think that's the last one. Is that the last one, you guys? I think it is. One more. Okay, got one more.
Hi, I have a question related to spirit guides. Can you tell me how you personally were able to communicate with yours? And can you share useful ways to strengthen our connections with them? I personally have had dreams about animals that I consider to be some sort of spirit guides, but I would also like to learn how to make this happen consciously. Thank you.
Okay. It's kind of related to the last question in a way. There are different ways of connecting to your spirit guides. Animals will sometimes become spirit guides. Usually somewhere in one of your lives you've saved an animal, and that animal loves you so much that they have stayed with you and trying to help you. If we all usually have something like that, but it isn't the kind of guides that you really need. You need ones that are more on the level that we're on. Sometimes, in certain areas of experience, the animal guides are very good, but there are other ones. To reach those, they happen in all kinds of ways. I mean, some people take a psychedelic and they end up with a spirit guide. There's a lot of things that can trigger the relationship between that. But the best way that I've ever discovered, again, is about the heart. If you go into the sacred space of the heart, and then you continue on until you find the tiny space of the heart, which is just usually this very small space that you can barely fit into most of the time. When you get into that space, you can ask, because remember I just said how all hearts are connected together in that space. It's the same space. And all people in that world are alive simultaneously everywhere, past, present, and future. And so you can ask somebody, say, somebody that had died 20 years ago, maybe a parent, and they died. You can go into that tiny space and bring them back, and they're just as real as they were when they were alive. And it is a real experience. It's not just an image that you're making up out of it. You actually are connecting with that person. And so you can communicate with them, you can talk to them just like they were, and they can tell you about where they are now and what's going on now, anything you want. But you can also ask for your higher self to come in. Now, higher self is a spirit guide on a very special level. It's not just like a channel. A channel is like picking somebody out of the phone book, a cosmic phone book. You don't know who you're getting. But if you're asking for your higher self, that's you on another level of existence, and it's literally you, and you are your best spirit guide in the world. If you communicate with you on a higher level of existence, they will guide you better than anybody. You can feel safe with them. They love you. They know that you are them, and they are going to be sure to take care of you in every way they can. And so if you go into your tiny space of your heart, you can ask for your higher self to come forth, and you will actually be able to see them, whether they're an angel or whatever level of existence they're on. And you can communicate in any language in the world, whatever they want. These levels of people speak every language on earth. And they can tell you exactly what you need to know. And so to me, that particular procedure is the most perfect and best one that I've ever encountered in my life. And once you make that connection with your higher self, you've really just won the game of life, because they're going to take you and accelerate your spiritual growth as fast as possible directly to the key where you need to go. And so I hope you can do this, because you won't have to ask these kind of questions anymore. Okay. I love you guys. Until next time, thank you for coming. Okay. Bye-bye.